I woke up in a room so vast that even a sigh could echo. The ceiling was gilded in gold, and a crystal chandelier hung down like giant teardrops. Before I could even figure out where I was, a cold, mechanical voice echoed in my mind. Ding! The life-saving money spending system has been activated. Host, Jiang Li. Current identity, the despised daughter-in-law of the Fu family. Novice task, spend 10 million renminbi within 24 hours. Failure penalty, struck by lightning until charred black. I sprang up like a coiled spring, nearly falling off the soft king-size bed. Jiang Li, the daughter-in-law of the Fu family? Wasn't this the dog-blood wealthy family novel I was reading just last night? In the story, Jiang Li was a commoner who married into a top-tier wealthy family because she saved the life of old Master Fu. However, she was despised by her entire in-law family for her frugal, country bumpkin spending habits, which they deemed unworthy of high society. Ultimately, she fell into depression and ended her life in tragedy. And now, I was the one stuck with this mess. But wait, what did the system just say? Spend money? Countdown started, 23 hours 59 minutes and 50 seconds. I looked in the mirror. Reflected back was a beautiful girl, but her eyes were sunken with anxiety. She was wearing top-tier silk pajamas, yet on her feet were a pair of cheap, pig-shaped plush slippers bought from a street market. This combination was an absolute fashion disaster. The phone on the table vibrated furiously. The caller ID displayed 2 words, husband. I swallowed hard and picked up. Fu Jingshan's deep, cold voice rang out, devoid of any warmth. Jiang Li, my mother is returning to the country tonight. You better behave properly. Don't let her see your cowering, pathetic look and embarrass the Fu family. I've already given you the supplementary card. Buy whatever you need and buy it properly. Don't bring home garbage that just takes up space. With that, the jerk hung up on me. True to the legendary domineering CEO style, treating his wife like a subordinate. However, Fu Jingshan's reminder inadvertently opened a bright path for me. My mother-in-law was returning. Song Man, the most powerful woman in the Fu family, famously known as a luxury brand demon, was someone the original host feared like a tiger. But to me, right now, she was a walking money-burning machine. I dashed into the walk-in closet. The original host's wardrobe was stuffed with designer clothes her husband had bought her, yet all still had their price tags attached. She hadn't dared to wear them for fear of ruining them. I randomly picked out a black Chanel dress, paired it with Jimmy Choo heels, applied some light makeup, and called for the driver to take me straight to Christie's jewelry auction. The driver looked at me through the rearview mirror with sheer astonishment but still nodded respectfully. Right away, young madam. The air here reeked of money. Gorgeously dressed ladies and socialites packed the rows of seats, holding their bidding paddles with eyes as sharp as knives. I sat in the VIP row, fiddling with the powerful black card Fu Jingshan had left me. 10 million renminbi. I had to spend 10 million renminbi today. Item 1, an 18th century oil painting. Starting price, 2 million renminbi. I yawned. No good. If I buy a painting and my mother-in-law hates it, it's a hassle. She prefers things more practical. More sparkling. Item 5, a pink diamond necklace. Starting price, 5 million renminbi. I was about to raise my paddle when I saw a wealthy lady next to me pout. Pink diamonds have been dropping in value lately. Looks so tacky. I retracted my hand. Spending money requires dignity, I couldn't buy something tacky. And now, for the most important item of the evening. The auctioneer raised his voice as the red velvet curtain was pulled back. An old pit imperial green jadeite bangle. The jade is as clear as autumn water, possessing a noble, imperial green hue. This item once belonged to a queen dowager of the Qing dynasty. The entire hall gasped. The spotlight hit the vibrant green jade bangle, radiating an undeniable allure. Starting price, 8 million renminbi. This is it. This is the one. 8 million. A shrill voice rang out from the front row. It was Madame Lee, my mother-in-law's sworn enemy on all fashion battlefronts. 9 million. Someone else shouted. The system in my head started blaring warnings. Only 4 hours left. Host has not spent a single cent. I took a deep breath and raised my paddle, number 68 high in the air. 11 million renminbi. The entire hall fell dead silent. All eyes locked onto me. Madame Lee turned around, squinting. Her face was a mix of sheer disdain and shock. Isn't that the Fu family's daughter-in-law? I heard she came from poverty. Where did she get the nerve to compete? I ignored her and looked straight at the stage. 11 million going once, 11 million going twice. 12 million. Madame Lee shouted angrily. She absolutely refused to lose to some insignificant daughter-in-law. I smiled, the exact haughty, elegant smile I had practiced in front of the mirror. 15 million renminbi. Bang. The gavel struck down decisively. Congratulations to lady number 68 for acquiring the Old Pit Imperial Green Jadeite Bangle. I breathed a sigh of relief. Ding. Task completed. Consumed 15 million renminbi. Rating, excellent. Bonus reward, level 1 luxury appraisal skill. Madame Lee was so furious her face turned purple, and she stormed out in a huff. I signed the confirmation for the jade bangle, feeling as light as if I were walking on clouds. Spending my husband's money, buying a gift for my mother-in-law, and completing a life-saving mission, what could be better in life? The atmosphere in the house was as taut as a bowstring. The servants stood lined up on both sides, heads bowed, holding their breath. In the center of the living room, sitting on a red velvet sofa, was a middle-aged woman radiating regal authority, sipping tea. Song Man. My mother-in-law. She wore an exquisitely embroidered peony cheongsam, her hair elegantly pinned up, and her sharp eyes swept over me from head to toe. So, you're back? She set her teacup down. The clinking of porcelain against the saucer made my heart skip a beat. Jingshin told me you took the black card out all day. What did you buy? Or did you just haul back more cheap junk to clutter up my house? I swallowed, trying to maintain my composure. According to the original host's memory, every time she bought a gift for her, whether it was a hand-knitted scarf or homemade pastries, Song Man mocked it as cheap and tasteless. I stepped forward, offering the intricately carved sandalwood box with both hands. Mother, I thought this bangle perfectly matched your aura, so I took the liberty of buying it. I hope you won't disdain it. Song Man glanced at the box, her expression remaining entirely frozen. She leisurely reached out and opened the lid. The vibrant green light of the Old Pit Imperial Green Jadeite radiated brilliantly under the chandelier. Song Man's pupils contracted. She held the bangle up to the light, then looked at me, her eyes probing. You bought this at Christie's? Yes, I outbid Madame Lee to bring it home, I confessed honestly, mentally bracing myself for a lecture about being wasteful, not knowing how to earn money, and only knowing how to spend it. 15 million RMB wasn't a small sum, even for the Fu family. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed. Suddenly, the corners of Song Man's lips curled up. She slipped the jade bangle onto her pale wrist, turned it around to admire it, and burst into hearty laughter. Good. Very good. Finally, someone in this house knows how to spend money for the family's glory. I was dumbfounded. What? Song Man stood up and patted my shoulder with a loud smack. It wasn't a light tap, but her tone was incredibly excited. You have no idea. That old Hagley has been parading around her tacky diamond necklace all month, making my eyes sore. Today, you snatched this precious jade right from under her nose. She must be coughing up blood from anger. Ha ha ha, good daughter-in-law, well done. She pulled a sleek, gold-trimmed black card from her handbag and shoved it into my hands. Take this. This is my personal unlimited black gold card. Take it and go shopping. Don't let anyone say my songman's daughter-in-law is stingy. I held the card, feeling like I was holding a hot potato. What is happening? I thought I was going to be scolded to death. Right at that moment, the doorbell rang. The butler hurried to open the door, then returned with an awkward expression. Madam, young madam. Miss Lin Yajing is here. She says she brought some local hometown specialties for you. Lin Yajing. The legendary green tea childhood sweetheart adopted by Fu Jingshan. Songman's radiant smile vanished instantly. She glanced at me, then at the door, her eyes as sharp as blades. Hometown specialties? Let's see what kind of play she's trying to put on in front of my wealthy daughter-in-law. The heavy wooden door opened. In walked a girl dressed in a pure white dress, her long black hair cascading down her back. Her light, natural-style makeup exuded a fragile vulnerability that made people want to protect her. It was definitely Lin Yajing, the adopted sister Fu Jingshan had sheltered all these years. In her hand, she carried a woven rattan basket containing several glass jars tied with pink ribbons. The moment she saw Songman, she flashed a sickeningly sweet smile and hurried over. Auntie. When did you get back? Why didn't you tell me so I could pick you up at the airport? I heard from Brother Gingshan that your stomach hasn't been feeling well lately, so I stayed up all night making this beauty-nourishing red date jam for you. It's completely organic, no chemicals like the stuff in supermarkets. Saying that, she shot a sideways glance at me. Her eyes landed on the expensive jewelry box on the table, and her lips curled into a thinly veiled sneer. Oh my, Sister Jiangli is here too. What gift did you buy for Auntie? It must be an expensive designer brand, right? Honestly, I think the most important thing about gifts is the heart you put into them. Right, Auntie? I sat quietly, taking a sip of my tea, silently evaluating her acting skills. Showing off her all-nighter efforts in the first sentence, and throwing shade at me for using money to buy affection in the next. Truly the standard script of a green tea girl, unchanged for 100 years. If it were the old Jiangli, she would definitely be flustered right now, hanging her head in shame, thinking she was being overly materialistic. But the current me was different. In my pocket was my mother-in-law's black card, and behind my back was my mother-in-law herself. Songman remained leaning back in her chair, her fingers lightly caressing the old pit imperial green jadeite bangle I had just given her. She didn't even bother to lift her head, merely asking absent-mindedly, "Who are you?" The room seemed to freeze for 3 seconds. The smile on Lin Yajing's lips stiffened. She stared wide-eyed at Songman and stammered, "Auntie, don't you remember me? I'm Yajing, the daughter of our family's old acquaintance. I even came to wish you a happy new year last year." Songman dragged out her words, looking as if she had just remembered something incredibly trivial. "Oh, the little girl who always cries whenever Gingshan doesn't answer his phone? Gingshan isn't home today, so what did you come looking for me for?" Lin Yajing's face flushed bright red. She hastily placed the rattan basket on the coffee table and pushed it towards Songman. "No, I genuinely came to visit you. Look at this red date jam. I handpicked every single date and sun-dried them manually for 12 hours. Songman glanced at the jars of jam, then back at the jade bangle on her wrist, and said nonchalantly, "Miss Lin, let me tell you something. Sincerity is precious, but it needs to be placed in the right spot and at the right caliber. My hands." She raised her pale wrist adorned with the vibrant green jade bangle, twirling it lightly under the chandelier. "Are meant to wear the 15 million renminbi jewelry my daughter-in-law gifted me, not to unscrew the lids of these cheap jars of jam." I almost spat out the mouthful of tea I was drinking. My mother-in-law was too badass. Lin Yajing turned pale, tears welling up in her eyes. "Auntie, how could you say that? I know I'm not wealthy like Sister Jiangli, and I can't throw Brother Jingshan's money around to buy your favor, but this is all my heartfelt effort. Using Fu Jingshan as a shield again." She was trying to imply that I was a gold digger, squandering my husband's money. I set my teacup down and smiled composedly. Miss Lin, you are mistaken. The money I used to buy the bangle for mother is indeed Jingshan's money, but he is my husband. His money is my money. I use my husband's money to show filial piety to my mother-in-law. What's wrong with that? As for you, what right do you have to feel heartbroken over my husband's money on his behalf? Song Man nodded in satisfaction, delivering a fatal blow. Furthermore, who said my daughter-in-law only knows how to spend Jingshan's money? Look closely. She pulled a stack of receipts from her purse and tossed them lightly onto the table. It was the receipts for the designer goods she had ordered the butler to buy online while I was at the auction. And the one who paid for it was me, using Fu Jingshan's supplementary card. My daughter-in-law has great taste in spending money. She knows I like Suzhou silk, knows I'm used to agarwood perfume, and knows exactly how picky I am about my bird's nest. And you, bringing these sickly sweet jars of jam to someone with mild diabetes like me, do you want me to die early or what? Lin Yajing panicked, all the color draining from her face. I didn't know you had diabetes. I'm sorry. If you don't know, then don't pretend to be so attentive. Song Man waved her hand, signaling the butler. Old Zhang, take these jars down for the servants to eat. Ah, never mind, if the servants get a stomachache, they'll hold me responsible. Just throw them in the trash. Lin Yajing stood rooted to the spot, her shoulders trembling violently as tears fell like rain. She looked up at me with watery eyes, her voice choking. Sister Jiangli, you have money, you have the right to humiliate others. But don't forget, Brother Jingshan values loyalty and affection. He won't like you treating an old benefactor like this. I burst out laughing. Old benefactor? It's just that your dad used to drive for Fu Jingshan's dad. Stop acting like it was a life-saving grace. Miss Lin, hold your tears for a second. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. You said you spent 12 hours making this jam, right? Labor is glorious, and I won't let you suffer a loss. I'll pay you 10,000 renminbi for your labor. Consider it me buying these jars of jam to throw away so I don't feel guilty. Lin Yajing was so furious she was speechless. Ding. Transfer of 10,000 renminbi successful. The system in my head chimed happily. Ding. Host has just performed a face-slapping with money action. Refreshment points plus 10. Bonus reward, a lifetime VIP spa card. I stuffed my phone back into my pocket, turned to Song Man, and switched to a sweet, coaxing tone. Mother, you must have a backache from sitting so long. I just hired a professional massage team from Thailand. They'll be at our house in 15 minutes. Why don't you go upstairs and change? I'll handle the rest of this trash. Song Man stood up, smoothed out the hem of her cheongsam, and looked at Lin Yajing one last time with eyes that seemed to be looking at an ant. Did you hear that? My family is busy enjoying life now. Go home, and don't ever drag that pitiful face over here again. It ruins the feng shui of the whole house. She turned her back and walked straight upstairs, leaving Lin Yajing standing completely alone in the massive living room. She clenched her fists, her fingernails digging into her palms until they turned white, muttering, "Fine, just you wait. Wait until Brother Jingshan gets back." She stomped her foot and ran out. I watched her retreating back, thinking to myself, so what if Jingshan gets back? You think he dares to defy his own biological mother? Right at that moment, the roar of a car engine echoed from the courtyard, headlights sweeping brightly across the windows. The door opened again. This time, the person walking in was Fu Jingshan. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, his tie loosened, and his coat draped casually over his arm. The moment he stepped inside, he frowned, immediately sensing the unusual atmosphere. The cheap perfume scent of Lin Yajing was still lingering in the air. He looked at me, his gaze sharp and cold. Jiangli, what trouble did you cause again? I just saw Yajing running out crying miserably, saying you used my mother's influence to bully her. Before I could even open my mouth to explain, Song Man's authoritative voice rang out from the top of the stairs. She didn't bully her. I bullied her. Do you have a problem with that? Fu Jingshan froze and looked up at the second floor. His mother was standing there with her arms crossed, flanked by two massage therapists who had just arrived, her face brimming with murderous intent. He rubbed his temples, his voice helpless. Mother, why are you joining her in making a fuss? Yajing is an outsider, why are you stooping to her level? An outsider? Song Man sneered. She's an outsider, yet you let her run into our house to cry and complain about your own wife? Jingshan, I think you've been working and making so much money that your brain has gone muddled. Get in here. Today, I am going to teach you how to be a husband. Standing to the side, I stealthily covered my mouth to hide my laughter. Looking at the completely deflated expression of the domineering CEO Fu Jingshan in front of his biological mother, I suddenly realized this wealthy family life was actually much more interesting than I had thought. The atmosphere in the Fu family's living room was now colder than an Arctic ice cellar. Fu Jingshan stood rooted in the middle of the room, his suit jacket still draped lightly over his arm, his handsome face showing utter bewilderment. He looked at his mother, who was standing on the stairs with an imposing aura, and then looked at me, the wife who had always cowered in fear, now secretly giggling. Mother, what are you saying? Teach me how to be a husband. Fu Jingshan frowned, his voice deepening as he tried to salvage a bit of his CEO dignity. I just got home, haven't even changed my clothes, and you're scolding me over an outsider's business? Yajing is Uncle Lin's daughter after all. Back in the day, he used to drive for father. Enough with that past loyalties song and dance. Song Man cut him off, taking slow, deliberate steps down the stairs. The sound of her wooden heels clicking against the hardwood floor echoed clack, clack, like a judge's gavel. She walked right up to Fu Jingshan, held out her wrist wearing the old pit imperial green jadeite bangle, and twirled it slightly. The vibrant green glow of the jadeite reflected directly onto his dumbfounded face. Open your eyes wide and look closely. What is this? Fu Jingshan narrowed his eyes. As a businessman, he naturally had a good eye for luxury items. This is old pit jadeite. With this color and clarity, it's definitely a supreme grade piece. Where did you buy this, mother? By my foot. Song Man snorted coldly. Your wife bought it. My daughter-in-law just won it in a bidding war against that Hagley at Christie's this afternoon, for 15 million renminbi, just to bring it home as a welcome gift for me. And what about your heart of gold adopted sister? Brought over some burnt-looking jars of date jam, claimed she made it for 12 hours, but in reality, just wanted to imply that your wife uses money to bully people, while she is the pure and noble one. Such filial piety. Fu Jingshan froze and turned to look at me. He couldn't hide the astonishment in his eyes. He knew I had taken the supplementary card out, but he thought I would only dare to buy a few clothes or handbags. He never expected I would actually splash out enough money to buy something worth as much as an entire villa. You spent 15 million renminbi? He asked, his voice a bit dry. I blinked innocently and replied in a featherlight tone, yes, you told me not to buy garbage that clutters the house, to buy properly so mother wouldn't lose face. I thought this bangle perfectly suited mother's aura, so I didn't spare the expense. Don't tell me you grudge the money? My question was an absolute chokehold. How could Fu Jingshan, the grand chairman of the Fu Group, ever admit that he grudged the money spent on a gift for his own mother? He cleared his throat, avoiding my gaze. It's not about grudging the money. What I mean is, you have better taste than I thought. But next time you spend such a large amount, you should notify the secretary in advance so we can balance the cash flow. Balance what cash flow? Song Man barked again. The money she spent was from the personal card I gave her. You just worry about making money, don't come home and penny pinch with the women. Go take a shower and come down to eat. My daughter-in-law ordered a 3-star Michelin banquet to the house today. Don't let the food get cold. Completely KO'd by his own mother, Fu Jingxian trudged silently upstairs. As he walked past, I even threw him a look of deep suspicion, as if looking at a stranger. Dinner that night was the most extravagant meal I had ever seen. On the long table draped with a white silk cloth, the dishes were displayed like works of art: pan-seared foie gras with blueberry sauce, black truffle mushroom soup, and A5 Wagyu beef grilled on pink Himalayan salt. I had ordered all of it from the city's most famous French restaurant. The bill alone easily blew away 200,000 renminbi. The system in my head occasionally let out a pleasant chime. Ding. Food and enjoyment expenditure. Halo points +5. Fu Jingxian sat at the head of the table, holding his knife and fork to cut his steak, but his expression looked like he was chewing wax. He was used to a highly disciplined lifestyle and a light diet. He hadn't quite adapted to this sudden change. Mother, he put down his knife and fork and started his lecture. Recently, the global economy has been volatile. Our group is preparing to inject capital into the new Southern Urban Area project. Funds are very tight. I think we should save a little. Clack. Songman slammed her wine glass onto the table. She looked at her son with undisguised disgust. Jingxian, has the pressure at work given you a mental disorder? Is the corporation so broke that it can't afford to feed your mother and wife a single meal? If you're too tired, how about I take back the chairman position, and you can stay home and rest? Fu Jingxian choked on his words. I didn't mean that. If you didn't mean it, then shut your mouth and eat. Songman picked up a piece of foie gras and placed it in my bowl, her tone doing a 180-degree turn to pure sweetness. Shaoli, eat more. You look too skinny. Designer clothes won't look good on you if you don't fill them out. Tomorrow, I'll take you to the spa for some skincare, and after that, we'll go watch a fashion show in Paris. I beamed, picking up a piece of truffle and putting it in her bowl. Yes. You're the best, Mother. I heard they just released a limited edition handbag collection in Paris. We have to go there and sweep the shelves. Yes, sweep the shelves. The two women clinked their glasses, their lively laughter echoing throughout the dining room. Fu Jingxian sat there, as lonely as a deserted island in the middle of the ocean. He looked at his mother, who was usually cold and strict, and then at his wife, who was usually timid and submissive. Now, they were getting along like old best friends. He suddenly felt like a complete extra in his own home. After dinner, I returned to the master bedroom. This was the room Fu Jingxian and I shared, but in reality, the number of times he came back to sleep here could be counted on one hand. I had just finished removing my makeup and was applying a 24K gold leaf sheet mask when the door suddenly opened. Fu Jingxian walked in. He had already showered, wearing charcoal gray pajamas, his slightly damp hair falling over his forehead. He looked a few degrees less icy and a few degrees more fatally seductive. But sorry, in my eyes right now, he is nothing more than a money-printing machine. He closed the door, crossed his arms, leaned his back against the doorframe, and stared intently at me. Jiangli, we need to talk. I adjusted my face mask and mumbled through my teeth, speak, I'm listening. But stand a bit further away, the moisture coming off your body is ruining the humidity for my mask. The corner of Fu Jingxian's eye twitched. He strode over, planted his hands on the vanity table, and forced me to look into his eyes through the reflection in the mirror. What are you scheming? Why the sudden change in attitude? You used to never even dare look my mother in the eye, let alone spend money so recklessly. Did someone put you up to this? Or do you think currying favor with my mother will consolidate your position as the young madam of the Fu family? I sighed, peeled off the expensive mask, and tossed it into the trash. I stood up to face him, my slender fingers lightly brushing over the lapel of his pajamas. Fu Jingxian, you've contracted Chow Chow's disease of paranoia. I changed simply because I realized a universal truth. If I'm your wife and I don't spend your money, someone else will spend it for me. Rather than letting some green tea sister enjoy it, I might as well enjoy it myself, and even get praised by my mother-in-law for it. Don't you think I'm right? A faint rose fragrance wafted from my body onto his face. Fu Jingxian was stunned. He had never seen a Jiangli so sharp, seductive, and bluntly pragmatic. Her red lips curled up in a provocative smirk, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. He was about to reach out and grab my shoulder to demand answers. Knock knock knock. Rapid knocking shattered the ambiguous atmosphere. Song Man's loud voice rang out from outside. Shaoli, open the door for mother. I hurriedly pushed Fu Jingxian away and ran to open the door. Song Man stood there hugging a pillow, wearing a dazzling red silk nightgown with a sleep mask pushed up onto her forehead. Mother, what's wrong? I asked, surprised. Song Man squeezed past me, walked straight into the room, and pointed at Fu Jingxian, who was standing bewildered by the vanity table. Jingxian, pack up your blanket and pillow and go sleep in the study or the living room. Why? Fu Jingxian's eyes bulged, feeling like he had misheard. This is his bedroom. Why? What? Song Man climbed onto our king-size bed and patted the empty spot next to her. Tonight, I want to sleep with my daughter-in-law. We need to discuss our bidding strategy for tomorrow's art exhibition, and we still have to make a shopping list for Paris. You snore too loudly, and you're always nagging about money. It ruins my mood. Mother, I don't snore, Fu Jingxian protested weakly. Cut the chatter and get out. Song Man waved her hand, shooing him away like an evil spirit. Oh, and don't forget to take that black card of yours on the nightstand. Since you're going to work early tomorrow, make sure you top it up for me. Standing to the side, I tried so hard to hold in my laughter that my stomach hurt, pretending to look at him apologetically. Hubby? How about you go to the study for just one night? Mother is in high spirits, we shouldn't ruin her mood. Fu Jingxian looked at the two most powerful women in his life currently occupying his territory. He took a deep breath, nodded in resignation, and grabbed his pillow. Fine. Make yourselves at home. He trudged out of the room, and the door slammed shut behind him. Out in the dark hallway, the high and mighty CEO Fu Jingxian stood all alone, hugging his pillow. He could hear giggling echoing from inside his own bedroom. Mother, look at this Hermes bag, this orange color is gorgeous. Why don't we just buy the whole 7-color collection? Buy it. Approved. My daughter-in-law has such great taste. Fu Jingxian rubbed his forehead, feeling his entire worldview collapsing. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. Hello. Investigate this for me. Who did Jiangli meet today? What did she eat? What did she do? Why has she turned into a clone of my mother? The next morning, I woke up to the faint scent of lavender essential oil. Beside me, Song Man was still sound asleep, a silk eye mask resting on her face. Who would believe that the most powerful woman in high society had just stayed up until 2 a.m. binge-watching a palace drama with her daughter-in-law, heatedly discussing how to punish scheming concubines. I tiptoed out of bed, but the moment I opened the master bedroom door, I was so startled I nearly screamed. Fu Jingxian was leaning against the wall in the hallway, dark circles under his eyes, holding a cup of pitch-black coffee. Looking at the haggard state of the CEO whom thousands of women swooned over, I suppressed a laugh and asked softly, "Good morning, hubby. Was the sofa comfortable last night?" Fu Jingxian shot me a razor-sharp glare, his voice completely hoarse. I slept in the study. What were you two doing laughing like maniacs all night? The soundproofing in this house needs to be reevaluated. I shrugged and brushed past him. Women's secrets. You better get ready, tonight is the Blue Star Charity Gala. Mother said you have to be the driver for us. 7 p.m. at the Emperor Hotel. The Blue Star Charity Gala was an event that gathered all the ultra-rich of the city. It wasn't just a place for charity, in reality, it was a runway for wives to flaunt their jewelry, socialites to flaunt their beauty, and husbands to flaunt their financial power. I stepped out of the Rolls-Royce Phantom, holding on to Fu Jingxin's arm. Today, I was wearing an emerald green haute couture evening gown with a high slit, perfectly showing off my long legs. The diamond jewelry set on my neck was easily worth 8 million renminbi. Naturally, it was personally selected by Song Man from her own collection. On the other side, Song Man stepped out of the car like a queen. She wore a noble black velvet gown, and on her wrist was none other than the 15 million RMB Old Pit imperial green jadeite bangle I had gifted her. As soon as we entered the banquet hall, all eyes converged on us. Isn't that Song Man? I heard the Fu Group is experiencing a cash flow problem recently, yet she's still dressed so extravagantly? Is that the country bumpkin daughter-in-law walking beside her? She actually looks the part now. Probably took a mountain of money to doll her up like that. The murmurs of gossip rippled through the crowd incessantly. I felt Fu Jingxin's arm stiffen slightly. He never liked these kinds of rumors. But Song Man was different. She held her head high, the smile on her lips growing even more radiant, as if those words were nothing but a passing breeze. We had just sat down at VIP table number 1 when a familiar, shrill voice rang out. "Oh my, Sister Song. Long time no see. I thought you wouldn't be able to make it tonight. I heard Fu Group's Southern project hit a little snag. You still have the mood to do charity?" It was Madame Li again, my defeated opponent from yesterday's auction. She was accompanied by a group of other wealthy ladies, gracefully fanning herself with a feather fan, her eyes brimming with provocation. Song Man took a sip of her red wine and leisurely replied, "Doing charity is about accumulating good karma. The more difficult times are, the more karma one should build. Who knows, heaven might reward us. Unlike some people who are filthy rich but have such narrow minds. Losing to my daughter-in-law at the auction must have cost you a few sleepless nights, right?" Madame Li's face turned purple. She snorted coldly and turned to look at me. "Your daughter-in-law is certainly young and capable, throwing money away without batting an eye. But be careful. A husband's money doesn't grow on trees. If she spends so recklessly, when the company goes bankrupt, you'll all be sleeping on the streets." Fu Jingxin frowned, about to speak up to defend the company's honor, but I was faster. I placed my hand lightly on the back of his hand, signaling him to keep quiet. I looked up at Madame Li and smiled sweetly. "Auntie Li, you worry too much. My husband is excellent at making money. I'm actually getting a headache because I just can't seem to spend it all. Besides, I came here today to represent my mother-in-law in donating to the Impoverished Children's Fund. Auntie Li, make sure you bid enthusiastically later, you wouldn't want to lose to us youngsters." Madame Li sneered, "Fine. Let's see how long you can keep up this act." The auction began. The first few items were just ordinary paintings and ceramics worth a few 100,000 RMB, keeping the atmosphere quite subdued. Song Man sat completely still. She said these items weren't worthy of her raising her hand. By the 10th item, the MC's voice suddenly pitched up with excitement. "And now, the focal point of tonight. The Goddess's Tear Crown. Crafted from solid platinum, encrusted with 99 diamonds, and featuring a 20-carat blue sapphire at its center. This is a masterpiece by a renowned Italian designer." The crown was brought out, glittering so brilliantly that the entire hall gasped in awe. Starting price, 20 million renminbi. This number made many people flinch. Even Fu Jingxin furrowed his brow. 20 million was not a small sum when the company was desperately needing liquid cash. 22 million. A wealthy tycoon at the next table shouted. 25 million. Madame Li immediately raised her paddle. She turned to look at Song Man provocatively. "Well, Sister Song? I bet you wouldn't dare compete with me for this one, right? I heard the banks are already tightening Fu Group's credit." Song Man gripped her wine glass tightly. She loved this crown, but she also understood her son's company's situation. She was about to shake her head and pass, but I wasn't having it. The system in my head was screaming. Opportunity. An opportunity to spend money. Host, show them the power of money. I grabbed paddle number 01 from the table. Under Fu Jingxin's horrified gaze, I shouted, my voice echoing through the hall, 30 million renminbi. Madame Li, startled, gritted her teeth, and followed up, 32 million. 35 million. I didn't even blink. 40 million. Madame Li shrieked, her face flushed red. This was her absolute limit. She thought I was just bluffing. Fu Jingxin grabbed my arm, whispering through gritted teeth, Jiangli, are you crazy? 40 million renminbi, where are you going to get that kind of money? The supplementary card I gave you only has a 20 million limit. I turned to look at him, my eyes unwavering. Don't worry. I'm not using your money. I'm using money gifted by my fans. Meaning the system, but he could interpret it however he wanted. I stood up, adjusted the hem of my gown, raised the paddle high, and declared loudly, 50 million renminbi. The entire hall fell as silent as a graveyard. 50 million for a crown. This price had far exceeded its actual value by double. Madame Li's jaw dropped. Her hands trembled as she lowered her paddle. She didn't dare bid anymore. Her husband would literally kill her if she dumped 50 million on a piece of jewelry. 50 million going once. 50 million going twice. 50 million sold. Bang. The gavel fell. I won. But the show wasn't over. I walked up to the stage to receive the prize. Holding the dazzling crown in my hands, I looked down at Songman, then at Madame Li, and smiled into the microphone. Everyone must be wondering why I bought this crown at such a high price, right? Actually, I didn't buy it to wear. I walked down from the stage and headed straight for Songman. She was looking up at me, her eyes a mix of shock and deep emotion. Mother. I gently placed the crown on her head. A queen must have her crown. You worked hard your entire life to build the Fu Group, what is this small gift in comparison? I want everyone to know that even if the Fu Group faces some temporary difficulties, the foundation of the Fu family and my mother's aura are things no amount of money can ever replace. Songman reached up to touch the crown, her eyes turning red. She gripped my hand tightly, trembling. Xiao Li. You. I then turned to Madame Li, who was sitting paralyzed at the next table, and delivered the final blow. Auntie Li, doesn't my mother look beautiful wearing it? Oh, I almost forgot, you just said the Fu Group was going bankrupt. Sorry to disappoint you, but this 50 million was just taken out of my pocket money for this month. If you really like it, I can gift you the crown's display box as a souvenir. Pfft. Several madams at the surrounding tables couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. Thoroughly humiliated, Madame Li grabbed her purse, stood up, and stormed out immediately. Fu Jingxin sat there looking at me as if I were a strange alien creature. He looked at his radiant, confident wife on stage, and then at his mother, who was as happy as a child receiving a toy. Only one question echoed in his mind, where on earth did she get 50 million renminbi? Right at that moment, his phone vibrated. A text message from the CFO, Chairman, great news. An anonymous investor just pumped 100 million renminbi into the Southern project through a venture capital fund. We are saved. Fu Jingxin was stunned. An anonymous investor? He looked up at me. I winked at him and mouthed, reward me when we get home. The truth was, the system had just notified me. Ding. Task completed excellently. Bonus reward. A corporate bailout investment package worth 100 million renminbi has been disbursed to the Fu Group's account. I wasn't just spending money, I was making money. That night, Songman was so happy she got completely drunk. When we were helping her into the car, she kept hugging me tightly, slurring, Xiao Li, my good daughter-in-law. From now on, if anyone bullies you, Mother will destroy them. Even that brat Jingxin. Fu Jingxin, walking beside us supporting his mother, looked at me with complex eyes. He said in a deep voice, Jiangli, who exactly are you? I smiled mysteriously, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. Who I am isn't important. What's important is that I am the god of wealth of this family. You better treat me well. The aftershocks of the Blue Star Charity Gala had not cooled down in the slightest. On the contrary, it exploded across all newspapers and social media. The front-page headline of the financial news read, Fu Group's young madam splurges 50 million on a crown, the class or the collapse of an empire? Beneath the article were thousands of polarized comments. Some admired the sheer spending power of the Fu family. Others mocked me as a prodigal wife, saying that Fu Jingshan had married a disaster and would sooner or later go bankrupt. There were even malicious rumors claiming the Fu Group was laundering money through the auction. I sat eating breakfast, scrolling through the comments on my phone, unable to hold back a laugh. Netizens truly had wild imaginations. Sitting across from me, Song Man was holding an iPad. Her fingers were flying across the screen at the speed of light, tapping furiously. Her face was tense, her eyes burning with the fire of battle. Mother, what are you doing? I asked curiously, placing a piping hot salted egg yolk bun onto her plate. Song Man didn't even look up, gritting her teeth as she replied, I'm using my alt account, Empress of the Universe, to wage war against these anti-fans. How dare they call my daughter-in-law a useless flower vase? This old lady will show them the true power of the keyboard. I just hired 500 clone accounts to mass report the personal pages of the loudest ones. Indeed, never anger a woman, especially a woman who has both money and too much free time. Right at that moment, Butler Zhang rushed in, his face deathly pale. Madam. Young madam. This is bad. The shareholders from the board of directors are marching on the company headquarters to cause a scene. They're saying that the young madam's reckless spending has damaged the company's image, causing the stock to drop slightly this morning. They are demanding Chairman Fu give them an explanation. Some are even threatening to strip the young master of his executive rights. The spoon in my hand paused mid-air. Song Man slammed her hand heavily on the table. Insolent. Are those old fogies tired of living? Eating the Fu family's rice and now they dare to bite the hand that feeds them? Mother, calm down. I set my spoon down and wiped my mouth with a silk napkin, my eyes turning sharp and cold. This situation stems from me, so let me handle it. Old Zhang, prepare the car. We are going to the Fu Group headquarters. The atmosphere was as tense as a snapping string. Fu Jingshan sat at the head of the table. His face was cold, but bloodshot veins mapped his eyes. In front of him lay a chaotic pile of throne documents. Sitting opposite him was Fu Zhenhua, his third uncle, an ambitious old fox who had always coveted the chairman's seat. Jingshan, uncle is speaking from the bottom of his heart. Fu Zhenhua tapped his fingers on the mahogany table. Your wife spent 50 million renminbi buying a useless crown, while our southern project is desperately needing funds for land clearance. Do you know how our partners are evaluating this? They're saying the Fu Group has loose financial management. The stock dropped 0.5% this morning. How do you plan to explain this to the shareholders? Fu Jingshan clenched his fists tightly. Third uncle, the 100 million renminbi investment capital hit our account this morning. The liquidity issue has been resolved. My wife's spending money is our family's private matter, she didn't touch a single cent of company funds. By what right are you questioning this? But the issue is our image, another shareholder chimed in. Furthermore, the Southern project is still stuck at the compensation and clearance stage. That ancient tea garden plot is right in the center of our project, and the owner is a stubborn old coot who refuses to sell. If we don't get that land, the entire master plan is basically scrap paper. So what if you have money? Having money without the land just means we're drawing pies in the sky to feed ourselves. Fu Jingshan fell silent. This was indeed his Achilles heel. The ancient tea garden plot was the most crucial link in the chain. He had sent people to negotiate countless times, even offering double the market price, but the landowner just shut the door and let the dogs out to chase them away. If you cannot provide a solution for the ancient tea garden plot today, and if you cannot commit to controlling your wife's spending, then the board of directors will have to re-evaluate your leadership capabilities. Fu Zhenhua delivered the final blow, a triumphant smirk plastering his face. Bang! The boardroom door was shoved open with immense force, slamming against the wall with a deafening crash. Everyone jumped and turned around. I strutted in, followed by Songman wearing ultra-cool black sunglasses and two massive bodyguards. The clicking of my high heels on the floor sounded sharp, steely, and full of authority. Who was just mentioning my name? I took off my sunglasses and swept my gaze over the dumbfounded old shareholders. Fu Jingxian stood up abruptly. Jiangli, mother? What are you two doing here? This is an internal meeting. What is with all this noise like a broken-down market? Songman walked straight to the empty chair next to Fu Jingxian, sat down, and crossed her legs with a domineering aura. Third uncle, long time no see. You still love poking your nose into other people's family business, don't you? My daughter-in-law spent my money. What does that have to do with your family's rice bowl that's making you so agitated? Fu Zhenhua's face turned purple. Sister-in-law, this is company business. I didn't give him the chance to finish his sentence. I walked straight up to Fu Jingxian and slammed my limited edition Hermes bag onto the conference table. Everyone is worried about the ancient tea garden plot, right? I asked, my voice light as a feather. Fu Jingxian frowned and lowered his voice to whisper to me, Jiangli, don't cause a scene. You don't understand this, it's a complicated land dispute. Complicated? I burst out laughing. I opened my bag, pulled out a blue file folder, and tossed it with a thwop right in front of Fu Zhenhua. Are you guys talking about that rundown shack with a few ancient tea trees located at 88 West Lake Road? Fu Zhenhua glanced at the folder, his expression filled with disdain. What do you know? This is. He picked up the folder and flipped to the first page. Suddenly, his eyes rolled back as if they were going to pop out of his skull. His hands trembled violently. Land Use Rights Certificate, owner, Jiangli. The entire boardroom erupted in gasps. Fu Jingxian snatched the folder and quickly scanned the contents. His eyes widened to their absolute limits as he stared at me in sheer astonishment. You bought this ancient tea garden? Since when? I shrugged, casually plucking a grape from the fruit platter on the table and popping it into my mouth. Oh, the day before yesterday, I was bored and went for a walk. I saw that house looked quaint and thought about buying it so I could grow vegetables and raise chickens there when I get old. The landowner said he hated businessmen in suits like you bothering him, but seeing that I wore a pretty dress and knew how to appreciate his tea, he sold it to me for cheap. It only cost 20 million renminbi. Why? Is this land important? The truth was, the system forced me to spend 20 million renminbi on real estate with cultural value within 2 hours, otherwise I'd lose 5 years of my lifespan. I bought it randomly, who knew I'd hit the jackpot? Fu Jingxian looked at me, his gaze shifting from shock to pure reverence. He knew perfectly well the value of this land. It was the dragon's eye of the entire southern project. With it, the project would become the most high-end cultural resort, with estimated profits in the billions. Important. Very important. Fu Jingxian's voice trembled with excitement. He turned to Fu Zhenhua, the cold smirk returning to his lips. Third uncle, what did you just say? Having money without the land is drawing pies in the sky? Well, now my wife has the land. Do you have any other opinions? Fu Zhenhua choked, his face turning as pale as ash. His plan to overthrow Fu Jingxian had just been utterly pulverized by a single land certificate held by this little brat. No. No opinions, he mumbled, cold sweat beading on his forehead. I clapped my hands with a smack and smiled radiantly. Well, that's great then. I heard that if this project succeeds, the profit dividends for the shareholders are quite hefty. But I'm a practical person. I bought this land with my own pocket money, actually the system's money. If I contribute it to the company now, I want to exchange it for a 10% share of the project under my name. Do you gentlemen think that's reasonable? The shareholders looked at each other. 10% was a massive number, but compared to the project being stalled indefinitely, this price was an absolute steal. Reasonable. Very reasonable. One shareholder hastily nodded. The young madam is truly young and capable, with incredible foresight. Spending money is investing. That is truly the style of someone who does great things. Their attitudes did a 180-degree flip as fast as flipping a pancake. I laughed inwardly. It really is true, with money you can even buy fairies. After the shareholders scrambled out of the room one by one, only the three of us remained in the boardroom. Fu Jingxian stared at me intensely. His gaze was complex, holding a mix of gratitude and something akin to infatuation. He walked over and grasped my hand. Thank you. This time, you truly saved me from a visible loss. I don't know how to repay you. Repay me? I pulled my hand back and gently smoothed out the lapel of his suit. Simple. Just keep making lots of money and keep my black card topped up. I am the god of wealth of this family, you better worship me properly. Sitting next to us, Song Man slapped her thigh and burst into roaring laughter. Right? Son, do you see now? I told you, when choosing a wife, you have to choose someone who knows how to spend money like my daughter-in-law. If you choose those petty, calculating girls, they'll only narrow the fortune of our family. Fu Jingxian laughed helplessly, but the way he looked at me had become significantly gentler. He finally realized that this little wife of his wasn't just a flower vase who only knew how to spend money. She was a mysterious treasure, and the more he explored, the more fascinating he found her to be. The atmosphere was just becoming harmonious and joyful when Song Man's phone suddenly rang. She answered the call, and the smile on her face instantly vanished, replaced by an expression of annoyance and disgust. What? She's back? At the airport? Yeah. Tell the driver to pick her up and take her to the old estate. What? She's throwing a tantrum and demanding to come to the main villa to stay with her brother and sister-in-law? Song Man hung up the phone, heaved a heavy sigh, and massaged her temples. What's wrong, mother? I asked, sensing a bad premonition. Song Man looked at me, then at Fu Jingxian, and shook her head wearily. Karma has arrived. Your god-forsaken sister. Fu Yaozhou just landed from the UK. She says she was homesick, so she came back early. She's on her way here right now, and she declared she's going to discipline this household because she heard rumors her sister-in-law is running amok. Fu Jingxian furrowed his brow. Yaozhou? What kind of stunt is that girl trying to pull now? I smirked. Fu Yaozhou, the sharp-tongued, arrogant sister-in-law, spoiled rotten since childhood, and the final boss of family drama. In the original novel, she was the one who tormented the original host, Jiangli, making her life a living hell. But what a pity. The current Jiangli was not a punching bag for her to vent her anger on. Let her come, I said, my eyes glinting with excitement. I was just feeling sad because I ran out of money to spend. I need someone to help me spend more. I just hope this sister of yours has good stamina. The doors to the Fu family villa burst open once again. But this time, it wasn't a gentle, calculating entrance like Lin Yajing's, it was a literal hurricane. Butler Zong. Why isn't anyone coming out to carry my suitcases? Is everyone in this house dead? A shrill, piercing female voice echoed, tearing through the peaceful morning atmosphere. Song Man and I, who were enjoying chrysanthemum tea in the living room, turned our heads simultaneously. Walking in was a young girl around 20 years old. Her hair was highlighted in a chaotic mix of blue, red, purple, and yellow. She wore a leather jacket covered in spikes, heavily distressed ripped jeans, and chunky combat boots. She was dragging 3 massive Louis Vuitton suitcases behind her, kicking things as she walked, a scowl on her face as if the whole world owed her money. This was Fu Yaozhou, the little princess of the Fu family, and the nightmare of every daughter-in-law in high society. Fu Yaozhou shot me a glare. Her sharp eyes paused on the high-end silk pajamas I was wearing, and she pouted in disdain. "Oh my, isn't this the country bumpkin sister-in-law from the rumors? I heard you just caused a scene at my brother's company and coaxed my mother into buying useless jewelry. You're quite something, aren't you? Barely through the door and you already want to sit on top of everyone's heads in this family?" Before I could even speak, Song Man slammed her teacup onto the table. "Yaozhou. What kind of tone is that to use with your sister-in-law? You don't study properly in the UK, and now you come home to cause trouble? Apologize to your sister-in-law right now." Fu Yaozhou stared at her mother in disbelief. In the past, although Song Man was strict, she had always spoiled her the most. More importantly, she had never defended an outsider in front of her own children. "Mother, did she feed you some kind of magic potion?" Yaozhou stomped her foot violently and pointed a finger at my face. "Sister Yajing called me crying, saying this woman used money to humiliate her and chased her away. And you're still defending her? I don't care, Mother, you have to kick her out right now, or I'll go on a hunger strike." I smiled faintly and set down my newspaper. "Hunger strike? That trick is so old, little girl." I stood up and walked over to Fu Yaozhou. Despite her punk rock attire, her face still held a childish innocence, with big, round, glittering eyes. In reality, she was just a child spoiled rotten by her upbringing. Her heart wasn't truly malicious like the green tea Lin Yajing. "Sister-in-law," I called out gently. "I heard you were expelled from your university in the UK. Oh, wait, excuse me, temporarily suspended for throwing overly loud parties, and your credit cards are maxed out and frozen, right?" Fu Yaozhou's face turned beet red. She stammered, "Why you? How do you know? Don't you dare spew nonsense." "I came back because I missed home." "Missed home? Or missed money?" I pulled out the powerful black gold card Song Man had given me a few days ago, pinching it between 2 fingers and waving it gently in front of her face. "I heard Gucci's latest autumn-winter collection just landed at the International Mall. You just got back, you must be lacking clothes. Look at this beggar's outfit you're wearing. TSK, it doesn't match the aura of the Fu family's young miss at all." Fu Yaozhou's eyes were glued to the black gold card. She swallowed hard. Because of her reckless spending in the UK, Fu Jingshan had completely cut off her funds. She had been living miserably for the past few months, at least, miserable by her standards. "What are you planning to do?" she asked warily. I winked. "Go change your clothes. Today, your sister-in-law is treating you to an all-inclusive package. Buy whatever you want, eat whatever you want. The only condition is that you must spend 5 million renminbi before sunset. If you don't finish spending it, I'll tell your brother to cut off next month's allowance too." Fu Yaozhou's jaw dropped. She looked at me, then at Song Man. Song Man waved her hand, smiling amusedly. "Go on. Your sister-in-law does what she says. I'm old and too lazy to walk, you 2 sisters go have fun." Fu Yaozhou walked beside me. Her attitude was still a bit awkward, but her eyes lit up the moment she saw the dazzling luxury boutiques. "Are you serious?" she asked doubtfully. "Are you really letting me buy whatever I want? Don't you dare pretend to forget your wallet when it's time to pay." I didn't answer. I just dragged her straight into a Dior boutique and told her to try on the entire new collection. "Wrap up whichever ones fit, don't bother looking at the price tags," I told the sales associate. For the next 2 hours, I transformed into a card-swiping machine. "Fu Yaozhou tried on a dress? Buy it." "This bag is too aggressively pink," Yaozhou muttered. Buy it. We'll buy the limited edition just to put on display for fun. These heels are too high, they hurt my feet. If they hurt, keep them to look at. Buy those rhinestone sneakers over there to wear so your feet don't hurt. Fu Yaozhou started to panic. She was famously known as a spendthrift, but compared to my brainless style of swiping cards, she felt she had been far too frugal. Ding! Fu Yaozhou's favorability toward the host has increased by 10 points. Status: doubting the meaning of life. We were strolling toward the fine jewelry section when we unexpectedly ran into a group of stylishly dressed young women. Leading the pack was a girl with big bouncy curls and sharp makeup. The moment she saw Fu Yaozhou, she smirked mockingly. "Oh my, who is this? Isn't this Miss Fu who just got kicked out of her school in the UK? I heard your brother cut off your funds and you had to run back home to mooch off your family? Why are you wandering around the luxury section today? Do you have money to buy anything, or are you just window shopping to satisfy your cravings?" Fu Yaozhou's face darkened. This was Lu Chami, her sworn enemy since high school. The Lu family was also a major aristocratic family, constantly competing with the Fu group. "Lu Chami, shut your mouth. Whether I have money or not is none of your business." Yaozhou snapped back, but her tone clearly lacked confidence. She knew her cards were frozen. Lu Chami sneered and turned to the Cartier sales associate. "Miss, get me that panther necklace over there. I'll take it, no need to try it on. Wrap it up quickly before someone standing here pollutes the air." She shot Yaozhou a provocative, sidelong glance. That necklace was worth 800,000 renminbi. It was a piece Yaozhou had liked for a long time but hadn't been able to buy. Yaozhou clenched her fists, her eyes turning red with grievance. She turned to me, intending to say, "Let's go." She didn't want me to lose face because of her. After all, I was just the newlywed sister-in-law, there was no way I would dare offend the Lu family. But I took a step forward, blocking Yaozhou behind me. "Hold on," I said. My voice was icy, but loud enough for the entire store to hear. "That necklace. I'll take it." Lu Chami frowned and looked at me. "Who are you?" "I already said I'm taking it." "You said you're taking it, but have you swiped your card yet?" I smiled, pulled out the black gold card, and twirled it lightly between two fingers. The pitch-black metallic sheen flashed under the lights, making the sales associate's eyes bulge. An American Express Centurion card. Lu Chami turned pale. She knew perfectly well what kind of card this was. Only people with astronomical spending power and supreme authority were invited to own one. "Wrap that necklace up for my sister," I ordered the associate, then turned and pointed at the display case. "Oh, and by the way, take the entire matching collection, the rings, bracelets, and earrings. I don't like my sister wearing mismatched pieces. It looks tacky." "Why yes. Right away, madam." The sales associate was as thrilled as if she had struck gold and scrambled to pack the items. Lu Chami stood frozen in place, her face burning bright red with humiliation. She was going to buy one necklace, I bought the entire collection. This was a complete and utter difference in class. I turned around and patted the shoulder of a dumbfounded Fu Yaozhou. "Sister, remember this. From now on, if anyone out on the streets tries to bully you with money, just call your sister-in-law. Your sister-in-law has nothing but money. Don't let anyone laugh in the face of our Fu family." Fu Yaozhou looked at me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. The grievance from earlier vanished, replaced by a feeling of being protected and sheltered that she had lacked for so long. Her brother was busy, her mother was strict, no one had ever stood up for her and slapped someone else's face in such a badass way before. Sister-in-law. Yaozhou mumbled softly, completely stripped of her previous sarcasm. "What? Not enough?" I laughed. "It's enough." Yaozhou suddenly lunged forward and hugged me tight, burying her face in my shoulder and sniffing. "Thank you. That brat Lu Chami has been bullying me for years. Today is the first time she had to shut her mouth. Ding. Hidden task completed, subdue the unruly young miss. Reward, a loyal ally within the family. That evening, when Fu Jingshan came home from work, he witnessed yet another bizarre scene. In the living room, 3 women were huddled together looking at a fashion magazine. Fu Yaozhou, the rebellious little sister who had threatened a hunger strike that morning, was now peeling grapes and feeding them to me, chattering non-stop. Sister-in-law, this dress would look so good on you. Let's go buy it tomorrow. Yeah, let's buy it, I nodded, thoroughly enjoying the dedicated service. Song Man sat next to us, smiling amusedly. Buy one for mother, too. Yes. We'll buy one for mother, too. Sister-in-law is treating us. Yaozhou cheered. Fu Jingshan stood at the door, loosening his tie, feeling like he had stumbled into a parallel universe. He cleared his throat loudly to get their attention. Yaozhou, you're back? Why aren't you causing a ruckus anymore? Fu Yaozhou turned around and glared at her older brother. Second brother, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? I'm being so good and gentle, and you say I'm causing a ruckus? And let me tell you something, brother, if you dare bully my sister-in-law, I won't let you off easy. Sister-in-law is my idol. She is the treasure of this family. Fu Jingshan turned to look at me, his eyes filled with questioning and admiration. In less than 48 hours, I had completely bent the 2 most difficult women in the Fu family to my will, turning them into my closest allies. He walked over, sat down next to me, and leaned close to my ear, his hot breath brushing against my neck. Jiangli, what kind of magic potion did you feed them? How about you give me some, too? My heart skipped a beat. Was this stone-faced CEO flirting with me? I gently pushed his chest away and giggled. This potion is very expensive. You can't afford it. Unless what? He pressed on. Unless you're willing to sign this. I pulled a document from under a pillow and placed it on the table. The atmosphere in the room instantly dropped. Song Man and Yaozhou stopped laughing and stared at the document. It was a court summons from those greedy relatives this morning. Unwilling to accept the loss of their benefits, they had banded together and filed a lawsuit, falsely accusing Fu Jingshan of embezzling company funds and demanding his personal assets be frozen, including the investment money I had just brought in. Third uncle again, Fu Jingshan picked up the paper, his eyes as sharp and cold as a blade. Exactly, I nodded, my expression turning serious. Do you trust me? Fu Jingshan looked deep into my eyes without a shred of hesitation. I trust you. My life and my money are all in your hands. The sky over Beijing was gloomy and gray, signaling an impending, massive storm. The atmosphere in the Fu family villa was terrifyingly quiet. Song Man lacked her usual eccentric energy. She wore a pitch-black cheongsam and held a string of agarwood prayer beads, sitting majestically in the master chair. Beside her, Fu Yaozhou had also shed her beggar chic punk outfit, replacing it with a neat, professional dress. Although her highlighted hair still held a hint of rebellion, her gaze was much firmer. I adjusted the collar of Fu Jingshan's shirt. Today, he was wearing a dark navy suit, his face as cold and unreadable as a statue. But I could feel the tension radiating from his taut muscles beneath the fabric. Scared? I asked softly, lightly brushing my hand over his chest. Fu Jingshan caught my hand and brought it to his lips for a light kiss. I'm not afraid of losing the chairman's seat. I'm only afraid that if I lose everything, you won't want to raise me anymore. I burst out laughing, stood on my tiptoes, and whispered in his ear. Don't worry. If you become unemployed, I'll hire you as my personal secretary. Salary is 5,000 renminbi a month, room and board included. But you have to be obedient. He tightened his grip on my waist, a hint of a smile flashing in his eyes. Deal. Remember your words. Unlike company meetings, today's gathering took place at the ancestral hall, the place of worship for their ancestors, and the place where life or death judgments for the clan were made. Third uncle, Fu Zhenhua, was already seated, surrounded by a horde of aunts, uncles, and cousins. These were the people who held minor shares, but combined, they had enough power to stir up a massive storm. Additionally, there was a team of lawyers and a few unfamiliar faces, likely representatives of investment funds waiting like vultures to swallow the Fu group whole. Fu Jingxin arrived 2 minutes late. Fu Zhenhua looked at his watch, his tone incredibly condescending. Is this the conduct of the head of the family? Fu Jingxin didn't even bother looking at him. He pulled out a chair and sat directly opposite him. Traffic. Third uncle, please understand, I'm not free all day to sit at home scheming and plotting like you, so I couldn't arrive early. Fu Zhenhua snorted coldly and signaled his lawyer. The lawyer wearing gold-rimmed glasses stood up and placed a thick stack of documents on the table. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of Mr. Fu Zhenhua and the group of shareholders representing 45% of the company's shares, we present evidence that Chairman Fu Jingxin has committed severe financial mismanagement. Specifically, the recent 100 million renminbi investment has an untraceable origin and is suspected of being money laundering. Furthermore, allowing his wife, Madame Jiangli, to interfere too deeply in business affairs has severely damaged the group's reputation. The relatives immediately started clamoring. Exactly. Buying a 50 million renminbi crown for what? To play dress-up? We cannot let the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors be destroyed by a spendthrift daughter-in-law. Jingxin, if you have any shame left, voluntarily resign and hand over management rights to your third uncle. He is experienced and will definitely steer this ship much better. Song Man, sitting off to the side, twirled her prayer beads and sneered. Experienced? Experienced at what? Raising mistresses, or losing money gambling in Macau? Sister-in-law. Fu Zhenhua slammed the table and roared, his face turning bright red. This is a sacred place. Watch your mouth. Don't think that just because your surname is Song, I don't dare touch you. You try and touch her. Fu Yaozhou suddenly jumped up, glaring at him. Who gave you permission to yell at my mother? Sit down, you little brat. An aunt pointed a finger right at Yaozhou's face. The scene descended into chaos, like a completely broken-down street market. Fu Jingxin remained seated silently, his fingers tapping a rhythmic beat on the table, his icy gaze observing every greedy face in front of him. He was waiting. Waiting for the prey to fall into the trap. But I didn't have that kind of patience. The system in my head was buzzing furiously. Ding. Emergency task, protect the family fortune. The opponent is using overwhelming numbers to force your hand. Host, use the power of money to purge the clan. Task spending limit, 2 billion renminbi. 2 billion RMB? I nearly choked on my own saliva. The system was playing big this time. I stood up. The sharp clack of my high heels hitting the wooden floor created a piercing sound that cut right through the chaotic arguing. Everyone, quiet down for a second. I raised my voice. You talk so much, but it all boils down to one word, money. Am I right? The entire room fell silent, staring at me. Fu Zhenhua sneered. What do you know? We are talking about the survival of this clan. Don't use the ancestors to scare us. I'll cut you off right there. I walked around the conference table, my eyes sweeping over every single face. You're all afraid the Fu Group will go bankrupt and your shares will become worthless, right? You want Jingxin to resign because third uncle promised you higher profit dividends, right? No one dared answer, but their evasive eyes confessed everything. Fine. I stopped right next to Fu Jingxin, placed a hand on his shoulder, and looked directly at Fu Zhenhua. If you're also terrified of taking a loss and losing your money, then today, I'll play the good guy and shoulder all the risks for you. I pulled out my phone, opened a financial trading app, and held it high in the air. I, Jiangli, acting in a personal capacity, offer to buy out the shares of anyone in this room who wishes to sell. The purchase price will be 20% higher than the market value, paid instantly in cash. No debts, no installments. The entire hall erupted in shock. 20% higher than market value? That was an astronomical figure. Where would you get that kind of money? Are you trying to scam us? The aunt from earlier asked suspiciously. Scam you? I smirked and pressed a button on my phone. Ding. A notification sound rang out from Fu Jingshan's phone. He opened it, looked, and then snapped his head up to look at me, his eyes wide with utter shock. He turned the phone screen around for everyone to see. It was a balance notification for an escrow account at a Swiss bank under the name Jiangli. The astronomically long number, with an endless trail of zeros at the end, made everyone's eyes spin. Is that enough? I asked, my voice ice cold. This is a one-time offer. Whoever signs the share transfer agreement right now will have the money in their account within 5 minutes. As for anyone who wants to follow third uncle and dream of his pie in the sky, feel free to stay. But I'm warning you now, once Jingshan finishes taking out the trash, your shares won't be worth a single cent. Hesitation began to spread like wildfire. Greed and fear fought a violent war inside the relatives' heads. Third uncle's promises were nice, but real, hard cash right in front of them, at a 20% premium, no less, who wouldn't be tempted? I'll sell. A timid uncle in the corner raised his hand. I need the money to pay off my son's debts. Done. Lawyer, draft the contract, I snapped my fingers. I'll sell too. Sell it all. Auntie Chu, the loudmouth from earlier, hurriedly stood up. Jiangli, you better keep your word. Don't worry. My credibility is worth a lot more than your old life. And so, a tragicomic scene unfolded. The very crowd that had just been aggressively demanding Fu Jingshan's resignation was now fighting and lining up to sign share transfer papers for me. The constant ding-ding of money hitting bank accounts echoed like a symphony of greed. Fu Zhenhua sat completely alone at the head of the table, the color completely drained from his face. He stared wide-eyed as his trusted lackeys betrayed him one by one, running after the money of the very daughter-in-law he had despised. You idiots! You're selling out the clan! He roared in despair. Third uncle. Fu Jingshan finally stood up slowly, adjusting his tie. He picked up the massive stack of freshly transferred share contracts and tossed them lightly in front of Fu Zhenhua. Now that my wife holds the 35% of shares from these relatives, combined with the 30% that mother and I hold, we collectively own 65%. You only have 15% left. He leaned down, bringing his face close to his trembling uncle's ear. According to the company bylaws, a shareholder with over 65% holds veto power over all decisions and has the right to expel any incompetent board member. Third uncle, you're fired. Fu Zhenhua collapsed heavily back into his chair, sweating profusely as if he had just run through a rainstorm. Get out. Song Man stood up, pointing at the door. Old Zhang, see our guest out. From now on, anyone from Fu Zhenhua's household is forbidden from taking half a step into this ancestral hall. Fu Zhenhua staggered to his feet. He shot us a look of pure, venomous hatred, then slinked out the door like a dog with its tail tucked between its legs. The ancestral hall fell completely silent. I let out a huge breath, feeling my arms and legs turn to jelly. Spending 2 billion RMB in 30 minutes, not just anyone could handle that kind of pressure. Ding. Task completed excellently. The host has successfully purged all parasites from the family clan. Host has earned the title, true matriarch of the wealthy family. I swayed on my feet, nearly collapsing. Fu Jingshan quickly caught me, wrapping his arms tightly around my waist, pulling me into his embrace. Jiangli, what's wrong? His voice was filled with frantic worry. I rested my head against his chest, inhaling his familiar, masculine scent, and whispered, "So tired. Spending money is really exhausting work. Hubby. I just spent my entire 2 billion slush fund. You really have to raise me now." Fu Jingshan tightened his embrace, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Don't just say raising you, I'd hand over this entire life to you. Wifey, you are amazing." Song Man and Fu Yaozhou stood beside us watching, radiant smiles on their lips. For the first time in many years, the Fu family was truly clean and united like this. "Jingshan," I said, my eyes sparkling. "We won, but I still have one final task uncompleted." "What task?" he asked in surprise. "The task of making you the happiest man in the world." I stood on my tiptoes and planted a passionate kiss on his lips right in front of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Fu Jingshan froze for a second, then immediately returned the kiss even more fiercely, as if wanting to carve this moment into the depths of his soul. Suddenly, the system in my head rang out with one final, strange notification. Warning. The system's final task is about to activate, the choice of the heart. The host must make a decision, keep the money, or keep love. The smile on my lips stiffened. What the hell is this? The system's warning blared piercingly in my mind, drowning out the cheering and congratulations from the people around me. Warning. Final task, the choice of the heart. Host, please choose one of the following two options. Option A, keep the life-saving money spending system. You will possess infinite wealth forever, but in exchange, you will lose all feelings of love. Your heart will turn to ice. You will forget your love for Fu Jingshan and your familial bond with the Fu family. Option B, destroy the system. You will revert to an ordinary person. No more money-spending tasks, no more endless funds from the system, but you will keep your current memories, emotions, and love. Note, all assets you have already purchased will remain yours. Time to think, 60 seconds. I stood dead in my tracks. The hand wrapped around Fu Jingshan's waist suddenly turned ice cold. Money or love? If it were the Jiangli of a month ago, the poor, death-fearing transmigrated girl, I would have definitely chosen option A without hesitation. With money, you have everything. What the hell is love? But right now, I looked up at the man in front of me. Fu Jingshan was looking at me with worried eyes. His large hand gently stroked my cheek, transferring his warmth to me. I looked to the side. Song Man was smiling radiantly with pride, and Fu Yaozhou was secretly wiping away tears of emotion. They weren't just NPCs in a game, they were my family. The evenings doing face masks with my mother-in-law, the petty bickering with my sister-in-law, and the genuine flutter in my heart when Fu Jingshan said he'd hand his life over to me. How much money could buy all of that? 10, 9, 8. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. System, I choose B. I don't need you anymore. Get lost. Choice confirmed. Option B. The system is now uninstalling. 3, 2, 1, goodbye, host. Good luck. Pop. A soft sound echoed in my mind, followed by absolute silence. The heavy weight that had been pressing down on my chest all this time suddenly vanished. I felt as relieved as if a 1,000-pound burden had been lifted. I opened my eyes and found myself still standing in the ancestral hall. Fu Jingshan was gently shaking me. Jiangli, what's wrong? Why is your face so pale? I smiled, the most radiant smile I had ever given. Not a fake, industrial smile for dealing with people, but a smile of pure freedom. I'm fine. I just made the most important decision of my life. What decision? He asked. The decision to spend the rest of my life draining your wallet instead of my fan's wallet, I winked mischievously. Fu Jingshan stared blankly for a moment, then burst into laughter and pulled me into a tight hug. Deal. I am willing to let you drain me down to my very last cent. Under Fu Jingshan's management and the financial backing from my previous investments, the Fu Group had grown exponentially, becoming the #1 business empire in Asia. My ancient tea garden resort had also officially broken ground, becoming the most highly anticipated project of the year. But more importantly, it was the atmosphere in the Fu family villa. Hello, Jingshan? Eat instant noodles by yourself tonight. Your mother, your wife, and Yao Do are in Milan. Fashion Week is so fun, we probably won't be back for a few more days. Fu Jingshan sat in his office, looking at his darkened phone screen, and let out a long sigh. Ever since I subdued both my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, the three of us women had formed a three-ladies club. All day long, we traveled, shopped, and swiped cards together. The once arrogant, domineering CEO husband had been pushed to the sidelines, becoming a solid rearguard in charge of transferring funds. Ding! A bank notification popped up on his phone. Supplementary account 13X just paid 500,000 renminbi at Gucci, Milan. Fu Jingshan smirked, his eyes brimming with pampering affection. He typed a message to me, "Wifey, buy a little less, save some space in your suitcase for my gifts." A moment later, my reply came in, accompanied by a selfie of the three of us smiling brightly, our arms laden with bags big and small. Don't worry, I bought you a dozen designer underwear. Mother says as long as a man wears high-quality underwear, what he wears on the outside doesn't matter. Fu Jingshan. Right at that moment, the office door opened. Song Man unexpectedly appeared. It turned out she had lied about being in Milan and had actually come home early. In her arms, she held a snow-white Persian cat. What, sitting around missing your wife? Song Man placed the cat on her son's desk. Mother, why are you back so early? Where's Jiangli? He peeked toward the door. She's downstairs in the kitchen, Song Man smiled mysteriously. Today is your 1-year wedding anniversary. She wanted to personally cook a meal for you. Even though I warned her that her cooking skills could cause food poisoning, she was determined. Fu Jingshan jumped up and sprinted downstairs. In the massive kitchen, I was struggling with an apron, my face covered in flour. Seeing him, I startled and quickly hid my hands behind my back. Why did you come down? I'm not finished yet. Fu Jingshan walked over and gently pulled my hands forward. There was a small, bleeding cut on my index finger. Does it hurt? He frowned, his voice full of heartache. It doesn't hurt, I mumbled. I just wanted to make a cake for you. But I'm not very good at it. The cake got burned. Fu Jingshan looked at the charred black cake in the oven, then at my flour-streaked face. He leaned down, gently kissed the cut on my finger, and then kissed my forehead. I don't need a cake. You are already the sweetest gift. So cheesy, I lightly punched his chest, but my heart felt as sweet as honey. Jiangli, he suddenly turned serious, looking deep into my eyes. Thank you for coming to my side. Thank you for turning this cold house into a real home. I don't know who you were or where you came from before, but I only know that the person I love is the you of right now, and forevermore. I was deeply moved. I wrapped my arms around his neck. I love you too. My personal ATM husband. Ahem. A coughing sound came from the kitchen door. Song Man and Fu Yaozhou were standing there, each holding a glass of wine, their faces openly eager for gossip. Are you two done filming your romance drama? Fu Yaozhou giggled. If you're done, come out to the living room. Mother has an important announcement. In the living room, Song Man placed a medical report on the table, her expression serious. Mother, what's wrong with you? I picked up the paper worriedly. But when I read the words on it, my eyes widened to their limits. It wasn't Mother's medical record, it was the result of my health checkup from blood drawn by the family doctor this morning. Result, HCG positive. Fetus, 4 weeks old. What? I stammered, handing the paper to Fu Jingshan. Fu Jingshan took the paper, his hands trembling. He read it 3 times before his head snapped up to look at me, his eyes exploding with pure ecstasy. Wife, you're pregnant. You're pregnant? I still hadn't processed it. Could it be, that night we slept together after drinking on the day of the charity auction? That's right. Songman clapped her hands with a loud smack and laughed uproariously. I'm going to be a grandmother. Ha ha ha, if that Hagley hears this news, she'll cough up blood a second time. She bragged about her daughter-in-law having twins, but my daughter-in-law is giving birth to a multi-billion-dollar heir. The class difference is just unmatched. She turned to Fu Yaozhou. Yaozhou. Go online right now and order 10 sets of limited edition Dior baby clothes. No, wait, just buy the entire store and bring it here for my grandchild to choose. Okay, mother. I'll order the diamond-encrusted crib too. Fu Yaozhou excitedly pulled out her phone. I looked at the chaotic yet blissfully happy scene before me. My powerful mother-in-law was planning a crazed shopping spree for her grandchild. My edgy sister-in-law was picking out designer baby toys. And my domineering CEO husband was down on one knee, pressing his ear against my belly, even though the baby was only 4 weeks old and he couldn't possibly hear anything, with the silliest look I had ever seen on his face. I smiled and placed my hand on my stomach. The system was gone, but it had left me a true fortune. Not endless money, but these people. This love. The end.